I'm involved in the debate around lethal autonomous weapons, or as the media like to call them, killer robots, and thinking about what happens as we introduce more and more autonomy into the battlefield. When most people think about AI, they think of Terminator and Skynet, and that's something that we need a little concern about, but it's something that's a long, long way away, and there are some much more immediate concerns I think that we should be worried about, some conversations that we should be starting, because they're going to affect almost all of us. My name's Toby Walsh. I'm a professor of artificial intelligence, and I'm here because as a scientist I feel a responsibility to help inform the debate that's going on about where AI is going to go and what happens when we succeed. It's clear that the public has an increasing appetite to understand where technology is taking them. I hope they have a better understanding of the issues around killer robots. It's not completely black or white. I mean, the fact that you can actually take people out of the battlefield is going to be a good idea. But that's rather a simple view of the issues, and there are many sides to this question as to whether we want these weapons of terror, weapons of mass destruction, how we can stop the arms race that is already developing around the development of killer robots. And I hope it will help to precipitate the discussions that are ongoing at the United Nations and elsewhere as to thinking about getting a ban. Because these will, I am absolutely certain, be weapons of terror. You only have to start looking at these pictures to realize what they will be. They will be weapons of mass destruction. They'll allow despots and people to scale their operations in ways that they've never been able to do in the past, because one person can control a whole army of these things. And they will therefore destabilize the world. Actually, I used to say Terminator was 50 years away. I'm actually starting to think Terminator is much less than 50 years away, if we allow that technology to happen. And we shouldn't allow that technology to happen. We should definitely be shouting, jumping up and down and shouting that this is something that shouldn't happen. If we get this right, maybe we will all be healthier, wealthier, and happier. Maybe we will actually be able to work less. All these promises that have been given to us in the past. We do work less now than before the Industrial Revolution. We used to work 65 hours a week. Now most of us work 30 or 40 hours a week. So maybe we'll work even less. Maybe why do we have a 2-day weekend? Maybe we'll have a 3-day weekend. So maybe we will be able to have the benefits that automation brings, the greater efficiencies. The challenging question, though, is whether all those benefits will be shared around equally. We have increasing inequality within our societies, and so there's a real societal question there as whether the benefits can be shared amongst all of us and not just by the rich. You might not have noticed the announcement on November the 13th. Unfortunately, a very sad bit of news was breaking in Paris that day. But the chief economist of the Bank of England, right? You think someone who would know what he's talking about in terms of jobs, went on the public record saying that 50% of jobs in the UK were under threat of automation. Much of this can be traced back to a report that came out of the University of Oxford, the Oxford Martin School, which made a prediction that 47% of jobs in the United States were under threat of automation in the next 2 or so decades. Ironically, this report was actually written using some machine learning algorithms. Technological unemployment goes back to the industrial age. I mean, we put people out of working on the farms, and fortunately new jobs were created in the offices and in factories. So there's no rule, though, that says that as many jobs get created as get destroyed. And this time there are indications that it might be different, that there may be fewer jobs created as are destroyed. Every technology makes jobs as well as destroys jobs. There's lots of new jobs coming along. There's interesting questions there as to how do we future-proof ourselves? What's the best skill set that you should be getting yourself or your children should be getting so that they can have a job in the future? The last revolution that happened, the Industrial Revolution, we changed our societies in fundamentally huge ways. We introduced labor laws, we introduced unions, we introduced the welfare state in most countries, we introduced universal education. We made some fundamental changes to our societies to deal with the fundamental changes that happen to the nature of employment. And we're going through a transformation that I suspect is going to be as extreme and probably even more extreme this time. We need to reach some consensus as to where we're going and how we should be building the systems of the future. We need to be giving engineers advice as to what ethical guidelines they should be following when they're building systems, and how we should be thinking about this future, because the future's going to happen. And with all technologies, it can be used for good or bad, and we should try and make sure that it's used for good as opposed to bad. And so I hope it adds some impetus to the discussions going on and helps provide, if the IEEE, for example, comes up with some guidelines on lethal autonomous weapons, that I think will be appreciated and will be very helpful to the discussions going on in the UN with the diplomats who don't necessarily understand all the technology. IEEE, advancing technology for humanity.